I was always envious of people who knew, not envious, but that's not the right word. Well, maybe it is. That who knew what they wanted to do their whole life. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be, and they did it. And me, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be, doing this, or selling real estate isn't it, and then once I figured out acting, and that's what I wanted to do, and then I had this really good job as a risk manager, it butted heads. One was paying well, the other one is what I wanted to do. And you miss auditions, you're gone all the time, you can't do theater anymore. And it really affected me. I wasn't my best self in the position, my attitude, and it affected my sleep. I would wake up insomnia, terrible insomnia. There's nights I'd sleep an hour, wake up 3 constantly, and be up all day. Since I left that job, I sleep till 6, sometimes 7 in the morning, and it's great, and I have dreams.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast, where we are reimagining and redefining what it means to be in midlife, where we are gathering energy, momentum, and excitement for our next chapter via candid conversations with other midlifers about their own pivots, pitfalls, and triumphs. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. That voice you heard a moment ago was my high school friend, Kenneth Ruthardt. He was 46 and minding his own business when the acting bug bit him. He didn't know anything about the craft, but he jumped in and started figuring it out. That was 7 years ago, and since then, he's performed in 15 plays, 9 TV shows, 4 movies, and even flew first class once. At 6'4", he is the world's tallest Apache and is developing an acting workshop to help other natives across Indian country develop their talent. I can't wait for you to hear his story. He's awesome. But before we get started, I want to remind you that you have a free guide waiting for you. You just have to sign up for it. It's designed to help you start taking the step towards your next act. It's a workbook called 5 Steps to Your Midlife Reboot, and you can sign up to receive it as an email series. It has practical exercises that you can use over the course of several weeks to get past feeling stuck. I'll remind you about it at the end of the episode and tell you where to go to sign up if you're interested. Oh, and one more thing. Guys, I am having way too much fun exploring Clubhouse. Seriously, I've made so many great connections there, including finding new guests with awesome stories for you to hear. And I want to invite you to come on over there and join the conversation live. So every Tuesday night, I'm co-hosting a room with my friend Deborah Schwartzfarb with the topic, What's Your Next Chapter? Each week, we're opening up the conversation to talk to each other and other late bloomers to explore where we might go from here. You can follow me on Instagram and watch my stories for reminders and information. Okay, without further ado, here's Kenneth Ruthardt. Let's go. Hey, Kenneth, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, Yvonne. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it. I'm so glad you decided to do this with me. So, for those of you listening, I always like to talk about how I know my guests, and it turns out Kenneth and I have known each other since high school. And in fact, for any of you who have been listening since the beginning of this, you might remember Donita Mama Bear, who was my first guest. And we, the 3 of us, managed to, we got pretty close our senior year, I would say, is when when the planets converged and everything. And we started hanging out and getting into all kinds of trouble. And
I know where the bodies are buried too.
Yes, you also know where the bodies are buried. Oh my gosh, so funny. And it's funny because we don't talk very often now, but you're one of those people that I just always feel connected to, and I always feel like we can pick up where we left off. And so I'm so glad that you decided to come and do this with me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's you don't go through life having very many friendships to where you can do that. You can just pick up where you left off, and there's few people you can do that with. And I'm glad one of them's you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna talk about your chief moniker.
Okay.
So back in high school, everybody called you Chief. And so Donita and I, that's how we very lovingly think of you. And that is not how you don't go by Chief anymore. You go by Kenneth. If I slip, I'm just going to apologize right now, because that is who you are in my head. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you got that name, and why you stopped using it.
Well, in my freshman year of high school, the teacher was telling me, he said, "Have you ever seen the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, "Well, you look like Chief in that movie." And he says, "I'm going to start calling you Chief from now on." And it just stuck. So from my freshman year till probably even today, nobody knows who Kenneth Ruthardt is. But those same people know me by my other name. It wasn't a malicious or a derogatory term when he said that. And my friends, they didn't use it that way, and I never felt slighted by it. But then later on in life, I realized that that's probably not the best thing to go by. So I started going by my name, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Not Ken, Kenneth.
Kenneth. Full on Kenneth. And I mean, a lot of it probably had to do with your size, right?
Oh yeah, I'm 6'4", and I think I was 6'4" my freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And so when I think you were 25, you told me, when you went to to live on the reservation for the first time.
Yep. I was adopted out as an infant and raised by a white family, where I grew up. As predominantly white neighborhood, white friends, everything. There were very few minorities. And so when I was 25, my dad had passed away about 5 years before. And I finally wanted to find out, where I came from, who my biological mother was. And so I found out and met my family, and ended up moving back to the reservation, Mescalero Apache reservation in southern New Mexico, south central New Mexico, up in the mountains. Beautiful there, absolutely beautiful.
Gorgeous there, gorgeous area.
Pine covered mountains, and I ended up staying for 4 years. So
4 years.
Different world. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you and I ever talked about that. That's like a whole other story.
We're
gonna we're gonna give it short shrift today, but I definitely would love to know what that was like for you, because I kind of want to fast forward more to our current life, and this whole middle-aged thing that we are in the middle of. Because, it's funny with this podcast, every now and again, I'll realize that one of my friends has an amazing story that I completely didn't even think about until I do. And then I'm like, oh, and I knew then, as soon as I thought of it, I was like, I really need to talk to Kenneth about this. So, when you were, I think 45 is when you got bit by the acting bug.
45, 46, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Ish. Okay, cool. So I want to know. So for me, I knew from the time I was 6 that I wanted to be an actor. That was it. There was really no other option in my head. That was everything I wanted, all I wanted to do. And then in midlife for me, I walked away from it. And that was a complete, that was such a shift in who, in my perception of myself. Massive shift, because it was all I had ever focused on, and all of a sudden I was lost. You flipped that, and you were doing other things, and then you got bit by the acting bug and jumped in with both feet, I would say.
Yeah. So acting was never on my radar, never thought of it. I remember seeing you in Steel Magnolias at some playhouse in El Paso.
Oh my
and
goodness. Wow.
So I haven't, never thought of it, never considered it. And then when I was 45, 46, it was a hot summer day, and my wife had a rather lengthy to-do list. Okay, we need to do this in the yard. We need to do this in the yard. We need to do this in the yard. And I'm like, whew, wow, I need to find something else to do. So I found a newspaper, and I just happened to come across casting call, no experience necessary. It happened to be today, this afternoon. And I brought it to my wife and I said, I'm gonna go do this.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So you were just shirking yard work, is really.
I'm allergic to that. I hate that.
My goodness.
I went to the casting call, and there were other real actors there, and they were serious about it. And I was just happy not to be working in the yard. And I noticed they started, getting sides and, running lines. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then as we were walking upstairs into the studio, my little voice said, you need to take this seriously. So I got my sides and started, reading them, studying them, memorizing them. And then went into the casting room, did my thing. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I really, really liked it. And when you're in the casting room, you have the director, there's a couple producers there as well. Mm-hmm. And the camera was on, and I'd never been in there. I was going in there just to do it. And it felt good because you're looking at, your reader, the person you're off camera, you're working in the scene with, and you at your periphery, you can see their reaction to what you're doing. And it's just like, you see them, make a little movement, and you're like, huh, maybe we should play poker. And I did it, and then I left and I went home. And on the way home, it was weird because I was like, this is great acting. I really like this. And it just kind of literally grabbed my soul and said, this is what you're supposed to do. And it was weird because that never happened to me. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And it's like, I need to figure this out. And serendipity, was still working. And there was another ad in the paper for an acting workshop, introduction to acting, the following day. And I'm going. And
wow, what interesting timing.
Yeah, all the planets lined up. It was nice. And I just jumped in with both feet and figured it out.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm an actor because I didn't want to do yard work.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Wow. So was it for a commercial? Was it for what was it for?
It was for a movie. It was Junktown's Finest that ended up being a Sundance selection. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It all just worked out. I played a mentally challenged homeless man.
Wow. So this was the first audition, and you got cast?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I know. It's like weird.
It is unbelievable. This is so cool. And this was in Albuquerque, right?
Right. Albuquerque's a big hub for TV and film production. They have 8 sound stages here. It was Albuquerque Studios, and Netflix just purchased it, and they're bought 300 acres more land and built 8 more sound stages. So
Wow.
it's big.
Wow, wow, wow. Good grief. So you got the bug, you were bit, and then bam, you're in it. You're swimming.
Yeah. I've tried to learn everything I could about it. Started studying, went through a few acting teachers until I found one that I really connected with, which is I think is key.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very much so.
um, that Maura Studi, she's helped me out considerably. And so yeah, that's where I am. And then I guess what helped my career as well, it's just doors kind of somehow opened, or said, hey, go over here. And I got connected with Native Voices at the Autry in Los Angeles. It's the only Native American equity theater in the country, I think. And pretty much any Native actor has gone through there. And Randy Reinholds started it, and with his wife, Jean Bruce Scott. Wonderful people. They helped me out a ton. I went and auditioned, and they put me in shows. So very grateful for them. And one door opens another one. Met a casting director there during the performance who just happens to cast a lot of Native American people, and Renee Haynes. So that helped out considerably. I don't really care for LA. It's too big, too
Did
crazy.
you end up moving there while you were doing this, or were you going back and forth between Albuquerque and Los Angeles, or?
I was going back and forth, and
Uh-huh.
it's nice. I had a place to stay, so
Excellent.
just
Excellent.
leave it at that.
Okay. Okay. We're not gonna dig. So what was it like stepping onto that set for the very first time? And like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I can only imagine my heart would have been thumping in my chest.
It was interesting because you go to wardrobe the day before and you get your costume, and I just thought about it when I did the audition, but that's kind of funny too. The first day on set, I got there and it's just, this is cool. There's somebody showing you around. You walk here, you go there. Here's your trailer. There's your costume. Put that on. Here's your contract. Sign all this. We'll come get you. Here's some food. They show you all around, and you don't really walk anywhere without somebody taking you. And my first day on set, you're in there with the actors. It was Longmire, the third season, I think, the Longmires that I was on. And it was great. You walk in there, and it really didn't hit me about what we were doing until we did all the actors were in the room, Kimberly, Robert, and I think a couple other people. And we just did a cold read real quick, read our lines, speed through, okay, did a little blocking. And then the director said, okay, you bring the camera crew in, stay there so they can set up the shots. And it was cool. They just picked up one wall and moved it. It's like, oh, that's way cool. So they can get the camera angles. And I have a thing where wherever I go out, this is just how my mind works. I try to calculate the profit margins for anything, restaurants I go into, amusement parks, wherever. It's like, okay, they're probably make assumptions. These are how many workers are there. This is probably how much they're getting paid an hour. This is the ticket, that's just how my brain works. So trying to figure out. Yeah.
Wow, my brain does not work like that at all. That's very cool. Okay, so you're sitting there calculating profit margins on
calculating
set.
all this stuff, and then that leads up to this, because I turned around and there are probably 20 people there with cameras, mics, sound, all sorts of stuff, and it hit me. It's like, oh my God. I couldn't even fathom how much these people are. 30, 40,000 bucks an hour, something like that. I'm just like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And it was like, okay, take a deep breath. You could do this, figure it out. And my heart was,
I bet. Oh my gosh.
And it's weird because all the lines just go whoa, out the door.
Yep.
And I'm like grabbing my sides. Okay, where are we? What seat am I in? What show am I? It was intimidating, but then you pull it together, and it was nice. Just doing improv with the other actors there while we're waiting and just cracking each other up, and it helped. And then we went to it, and I was in 2 scenes in that one. And then this is how crazy the productions are, not crazy, but how unfamiliar. So I was just a day player, right? My first role ever. And we were in a different scene, in the bar scene, and we shot it. We did the rehearsal. The cameras are rolling, and I'm about halfway through my first lines, and they went out the window. It was like, oh my God, I forgot. And I just felt bad because here's all these professionals, and then there's me.
Right.
And
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
he cut, and then I was like, I'm sorry. And then they're like, no, it's cool, just figure it out. And then they gave me like a minute, and okay, go. And then we did it, and it was fine. But during the breaks, because they have to set up the different shots and the different angles, my nose started running a little bit. So I got up and I walked over to the bar, and I was looking for a Kleenex. And, for continuity, they don't want you touching anything.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bar napkin in the dispenser. So I went to go get it, and somebody pops up right next to me. Can I help you, Kenneth? I just looking for a Kleenex. And he gets on his walkie-talkie. Kenneth needs a Kleenex.
You're like, oh my God.
I can get it. It's okay. And then just magically a box of Kleenex, is right there. Somebody's holding it. And, I grab one, and he goes, oh, you might want to take 2 just in case. Oh, good idea. So I grabbed another one. But it's weird. It's different.
Yeah, yeah. And oh my gosh, I mean, what a great show that is. I only watched it because I knew you were on it, and I didn't know which episode you were going to be on. So I remember starting to watch it, watch the first couple episodes. I'm like, this is pretty good. I think probably about episode 3, I was like, oh, this I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
in. And then I just binged it. And then I told my husband, I was like, so then I watched through all the seasons, went back, and John watched them again with my husband. And then once my older son got old enough, I was like, you should really watch this show. This is really good. And he binged right through it too. So it's what a great show. What an amazing thing for you to have landed so quickly into something that was that good.
It's luck. Luck plays in my life, and I think in a lot of people's lives. Luck is a factor. It plays a part, and
Yeah.
it definitely played that in mine. And they had me back 3 times, so that was
Yeah.
that
And
was
you did
nice.
great work. Great work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. And then so man, oh man, just amazing. Then you were doing theater as well.
Theater is the absolute best. I love working on stage. You can't beat that.
It is amazing, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm more of a theater girl. I didn't do much on camera. So that's really my experience. Tell me what you love about it.
I don't, in my opinion, you're not an actor unless you're a theater actor, stage actor, because when you're on doing, okay, TV and film are great. I love doing that. Pays significantly more than stage work. But in stage work in theater, you're in character, you're doing it all day, trying to figure it out. In the rehearsal from the initial table read, I'm trying to find the character. And, when you work with other actors, you're in a zone, you're figuring it out, and, figuring out their movements, you're listening to them, watching to them, feeling what they're doing, and trying to find the scene. And, oh no, that didn't work. And then try it again, you try something else. So that didn't work, or that kind of work. Let's take a piece of that and put this in until you get it. And then when you're just like, oh, it's like being in a zone. It's amazing. It's like the endorphin is just like off the charts.
It
And
really is, isn't it? I
yeah,
used to love I think my favorite part of doing theater was the rehearsals. It was that process, that discovery process, watching a show come together, watching the growth of the other actors, figuring out how you fit in that, your part of the puzzle where you fit in and how you can tell the story. I mean, that whole thing just so exciting. And for so many times for me, I get to the point of tech rehearsal, which is usually about a week before you open, right?
right.
And all of a sudden they throw you in a costume. And so many times it would happen for me that put on that costume for the first time, and it would feel like everything just went ka-chunk. It just, it was like, oh yeah, now we're cooking with gas. Like that's the last little final piece of the puzzle I needed, was that, right, those shoes and this, whatever it is, it just all comes together, and
It,
so
it
cool.
it's like when you're a little kid, when you put on like your cape, you can fly. It's the
Right.
same thing with the costume, except for adults. You can do it.
Exactly. All of a sudden you go from like working with folding chairs to having the set and the costume and the lights, and it all just comes together and you're like, whoa, it's just like magic.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
it is so fun. And then it's like walking on a tightrope because you're doing it every night.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and occasionally things go wrong, and you don't need to let the audience know that something really screwed up.
Right. Oh yeah.
And it's um, like when I did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, finally, one of my earlier plays, a fellow native actor, he's 6'4" also, Brandon, he lives in Canada. He said, if you ever get a chance to do this role, you have to do it. And turns out a few months later, hey, you want to do this role? Like, absolutely. So it was one of the scenes, you're in the nut house, and McMurphy, we're all in there, and all the crazy people, and me, and it was nice because Chief, he's just sweeping the floors in the periphery, just kind of taking everything in.
Mm-hmm.
And the orderly missed his entrance because he was supposed to come in and get us off stage. I forget for what, but he missed it. Just nobody's there, and then there was this pregnant pause. Everybody's like, "Oh crap!" And I was fine because it's like I'm just standing there anyways. And finally, McMurphy, he says, ad lib something, I'm gonna go do this and get somebody. So he goes off into the wing, something cool. He's gonna figure it out and get us all off stage. And from the wings, he just turns around and he just waves, waves goodbye to us and disappears.
Are you kidding me?
Inside, I'm just like, you mother. It was funny. We all ended up getting off. It worked out, but that was just like, oh my God, that's hilarious. That was a fun time. That was good.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Just hearing you talk about this transition, it sounds like you just stepped into it, kind of like, okay, this is it. This is what I do now. And did you have any feelings of, oh, holy shit, what am I doing? Like, were you scared?
No, I get nervous before every performance or before you go on camera. You're always nervous, but that goes away pretty quick. It's funny. I've been a little more reflective last few months. So my mom passed away in August, 6 months ago, and
Sorry.
from when I was for as long as I can remember, since I was little boy, she's always told me, you can do anything you put your mind to, and that was the mantra. I've always heard it, but I never believed her. That you're my mom. You're supposed to tell me that.
Right, right.
But as you go through life, and I'm looking back at my life and thinking about things, I guess it was drilled into me. It's like, I decided I'm going to do this, and I did it. because of what she instilled in me, subconsciously it's there. It's like, you can do anything you put your mind. I never thought that I couldn't do it. If I say I'm going to do something, it's like, I'm just going to go do it. I'll figure it out, and hopefully it works out.
What a gift she gave you. She was a great lady.
She was
such a sweet lady.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
Yeah.
I lucked out there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. So you just stepped in. That was it. Oh my goodness. Do you think if you had done this kind of a shift earlier in your life, do you think you would have had the same sense of confidence? Or do you think that's something that came with being in your mid 40s?
No, I couldn't have done this earlier. Uh, Horribly insecure as a person, and I couldn't have done it because really wasn't confident of who I was as a person. Wasn't comfortable in my own skin. It took a long time. I was in my 30s before I realized, you have half a brain and you can do stuff. And so I couldn't have done it earlier. But the flip side of that is you can't judge your past by what you know today. So I'm where I'm supposed to be because this is where I'm supposed to be, and figure it out from here going forward.
Yep, absolutely. It's interesting that whole idea of, I guess you're making me think of regret, and all the things. I, I don't really have regrets because I really truly feel like everything that I have done has brought me here, and I feel like I've just led a charmed life. Like
Yeah.
I look at how things could have gone based on decisions I made. and I just think, wow, no, it's all good. Things didn't turn out the way I thought I wanted them to turn out in so many ways, but they turned out just the way they needed to, you know?
Yeah. You get here, and in spite of ourselves, we made it to our 50s.
Here we are. Somehow, some
which is
way.
weird.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. What changed about, or what did you have to change in your life? Like, what were you doing for work before you started acting? And then did you keep doing that? Was this like you were doing this on the side? How did all that practical part of your life pan out for you?
So I've had my real estate license since I was early, like 98, I think. I've had my real estate license, and that's always been my full fallback choice. I love real estate, always have. That's what I did every Sunday, go look at open houses, growing up with my mom. Go
Me
look at 3 or 4
too.
houses.
My mom, we were looky-loos. Remember, what was in that? There was like some
Yeah.
commercial or something that was looky-loos. My mom was like, "That's us," because seriously, we went to look at houses all the time. That was my mom's favorite thing to do.
Yeah, that was great. We love doing that.
So you love real estate. I love that.
I don't like sales. I'm a terrible salesman. Getting clients. I do not like prospecting. But once you get them, I do a good job, and flipped properties as well. It was difficult. Well, real estate, it's a constant hunt for customers and clients, and if it doesn't close, you don't get paid. Nothing. It's 100% commission. So it's a difficult gig. So I did that, and then from time to time I would. I was like, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go get a 9 to 5, and did that. And then this last time I worked for as a risk manager, traveled extensively across the country, and it was difficult. Couldn't do theater anymore because I was gone so much. Travel, I think, fly 50,000 miles a year, and then during the week I'd be driving, anywhere from 600 to 1,200 miles. Couldn't really do auditions for for TV or film. I missed quite a few, and then just in June I left that job, and it's worked out nice.
That's great. I
Yeah.
was just thinking, that idea of real estate being 100% commission and always having to find customers. What perfect training for an actor. Because seriously, like that's the job. The job of an actor is to audition, really,
Hmm.
most of the time, because you can't work unless you go through that audition. So you're always looking for customers. And then there's that rejection rate that plays into it. That's such a big part of being an actor. So you built up a great muscle for just being able to go in, and I'm starting to see that played in probably pretty largely. Would you think?
You learn about people. Yeah, the sales cycle: create, qualify, demonstrate, overcome, and close. And you you learn about people. You find out what their personalities are and tailor your pitch to their personality, and look for their cues of how they're reacting to things, and when to ask questions, when to be quiet, when don't say a word. And just gentle gestures, like somebody's thinking about it and they have a contract, they're on the fence, and you just kind of hand the pin to them, and they take it and they do it. You learn a lot about people and their emotions, and yeah, it's especially in residential real estate, it's very emotion based. People can emotions take over, but whereas like in the multifamily where I did a lot of that, it's all numbers. Numbers work, yeah, let's do it. If not, move on. So
Yeah. Wow. I never even really thought about that. That completely makes sense.
And I love people watching, and even people I talk to, I'm starting to, okay, so what are they wearing today? Why did they do this? Are they right-handed? Are they left-handed? Are they getting nervous? Why did they fix their hair? What's just they're blinking. Are they paying attention? Starting to get into blink rates. I don't know why.
You're counting blinks while you're calculating profit margins.
Profit margins on this coffee shop. This shouldn't be open.
Oh my gosh. Were you feeling any kind of dissatisfaction with what you were doing? That do you think, I mean, I know that this was kind of like a switch that flipped for you, and that it was like, oh, I'm going to get out of yard work and I'm going to go audition. Was there anything, as you look back now, do you see anything where it was like you weren't happy doing what you were doing, or this was just like icing on the cake when you took it on?
No, I was just trying to figure it out. Just I was always envious of people who knew, not envious, but that's not the right word. Well, maybe it is. That who knew what they wanted to do their whole life. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be, and they did it. And me, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be, doing this, or selling real estate isn't it, and then once I figured out acting, and that's what I wanted to do, and then I had this really good job as a risk manager, it butted heads. One was paying well, the other one is what I wanted to do, and you miss auditions, you're gone all the time, you can't do theater anymore, and it really affected me. I wasn't my best self in the position, my attitude, and it affected my sleep. I would wake up insomnia, terrible insomnia. There's nights I'd sleep an hour, wake up 3 constantly, and be up all day. Since I left that job, I sleep till 6, sometimes 7 in the morning, and it's great. And I have dreams.
Wow. Man, if you
So
seriously, if you're not sleeping, that is really dipping into your recovery time and all kinds of stuff. That's, yeah.
my hair started turning gray. I'm like, what the heck? Being 53 has nothing to do with that. But
Where do you see yourself going from here? Like, what do you think is next?
um, I I want to be an actor, and hopefully I don't need to move to LA to do that. Everything that's going on here in Albuquerque have a good chance of that. And I'd like to do more theater. And like a long range dream is to have my own theater here and black box theater.
Yeah.
I would like it to be 100%, native productions because there's not that many, but the economics of it just doesn't work. You need an audience to come in and fill the seats. So you do some native theater and other, because there's a lot of wonderful native playwrights out there, and shows that I want to do. But
That
we'll
sounds
see
so exciting.
how that goes. And I couldn't do it without the support of my wife. It was funny when my first show that I was doing, coming home from a performance, and I told her, I said, I want to be an actor. And she didn't skip a beat. And she said, if you're going to go do it, go do it. So
That's amazing. Man, it's great to have support when you need it like that.
yeah, and if that doesn't work out, go fly cargo planes. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So wait a minute. Go fly cargo planes. Tell me more.
So a friend of mine has been a pilot his whole life, and we were just reconnecting and just started talking. I said, yeah, I've always wanted to be a pilot, but never could because I'm legally blind in one eye. And he goes, you can still be a pilot. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, do you have any, can you see colors? I'm like, yeah. Is your other eye corrected to 20/20? I was like, uh-huh. And he goes, I know pilots with one eyeball. I was like, no way.
Really?
He says, yeah, you got to get a statement of demonstrated ability, a SOTA number. And there's some things you got to go through. He goes, yeah, you can fly planes. A month later, I was, taking my FAA flight physical, and they said, you are good to go. So started flying and took a plane, and yeah, so I'm doing that. I went and flew a flight simulator, 737 flight simulator at a major airline, their training place. It was like a weekend thing to do. It was really intense.
Yeah.
I mean, flying my little 172 compared to 737, principles of flight are the same. You just got more buttons in the 737, and
Wow.
that was the big planes don't do it for me. I like the little planes. So these little feeder planes that go in through the small towns that go out, in the morning and come back at night with the cargo, that's perfectly fine by me. You get to fly. I don't really want to do the big stuff. And I could do theater, community theater.
That sounds like a great plan. My gosh, that is so
we'll see
cool.
how it works out.
I am, oh, wow. See, this is the thing. We just have to stay open, I think, and not settle, you know. There when you said you were envious of people who always knew what they wanted, I think that having a little bit of jealousy or envy can be such a clue to what it is you really want, you know. And if we pay attention and don't just say, "Oh, this is it. This is my life." It's just, I guess it's amazing to me. Like we just I feel like people get to this point and we have a sense of ourselves, an idea of ourselves at this point. And I think so often we hold ourselves back from stepping into something new. And I just think it's so exciting that you don't hold yourself back like that, that you are, you just stepped into doing the acting and now you're like, okay, I'm gonna look into being a pilot. That's next. Let's see where this goes. And then things just, you say it's luck, but it's part of it is making a decision, I think, and stepping into stuff. And yeah, things start to come together.
Yeah, and it's just one door opens another, and as you're talking there about being envious about people knowing what they wanted to do. I remember, and it just clicked, like ray of light. When I was little, I read an article in a magazine. It was called "I Wanted to Do It All," about a guy who had a list of things he wanted to do in his life and just started checking them off and doing it. And I was telling my wife about it when I first met her, and she found me the article and printed it out, which was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading this as a little boy, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. And then now as we're talking, it's like, holy cow, I wanted to do all sorts of stuff. When I was little, I wanted to be an oceanographer, an archaeologist, play for the Dallas Cowboys, be a professional ballet dancer, be a Green Beret, wanted to do and write for National Geographic. And I didn't do any of those, but I've done quite a bit, and every little piece happened because it was supposed to, and got me to where I am now. And I'd love to do acting forever, but if that's not it, I'll find something else to do.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if you've found this, but I also have a lot of interests. And one of the things I love about acting is just getting to pretend. It's that pretend. It's stepping into that world of being another person for a little while. That kind of is, it kind of, of course you're not whatever that is, but it gives you that sense of freedom and letting your mind go to being that person or having that experience and really thinking about what would that be like if I got to do that.
And isn't it the best, like when you're finding the character and you're going through it and the character like moves an arm or turns you this way or the character takes over your body? Is that so cool or what? That's when you know you're in it.
Yes. That is so cool. What a great journey you've been on. And I'm excited to see where you take this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out, and hopefully it includes a stage or production somewhere.
I just thank you. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you. I had a good time.
Well, there you have it. It occurs to me that Kenneth brought up something that's been coming up a lot in my recent conversations with friends and other guests like Rachel Strably and Camila Reed Burrell. I'm talking about sleep disruption and how our bodies talk to us. I was also in several conversations in Clubhouse this week where people shared their stories of transformation that started with some sort of illness that stopped them short in their tracks and demanded a change in their lives. When we don't pay attention to our heart's desire, eventually the body will scream to be heard. The body holds all kinds of intelligence and information that we should be listening to. And the question is, are we going to wait for something to go horribly wrong? Or can we pick up the cues earlier? Listen to our bodies, notice our thoughts, and start making the changes we need to live fulfilled lives. The thing is, this is an ongoing process. Notice that Kenneth stopped acting after a while to take a survival job that wasn't a good fit. And that's when the insomnia hit him. We all do this, I think. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Just like Mad-Eye Moody from Harry Potter says, it requires constant vigilance. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm a dork. Anyway, that said, if you want to know more about Kenneth, I will have that information for you in the show notes. Just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and click on the show notes for episode 40. And that's also where you can find a link to sign up for the 5 steps to your midlife reboot. Hey, before you get on with the rest of your day, can you take a moment to leave a review or a rating, or let a friend know about the podcast? Reviews help other people find the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay safe and well. Talk soon.